Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Entrepreneurship Lab. This is your host, Nevena Bajalac, welcoming you once again to the podcast where we help you grow and scale your business, deal with your challenges as entrepreneurs, and we bring you incredible guests that are experts in different areas and that build and they're somewhere where we all want to go so we can learn from their experience and their knowledge. Today, my guest is Otis Wellborn, and Otis is currently in Texas. He's Cincinnati native, and he is actually author. He's a very successful entrepreneur, and we're gonna talk about reaching your six figures because Otis published a book on how to make six figures selling real estate as a realtor. So he's gonna share with us his experience and or everything that he taught through his journey and how you can get there, not necessarily only real estate, but in your business as well. Otis, welcome to the show and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be a part of your show today.
So, Otis, tell us a little bit more. Um, you reached six figures, you published the book about it, your success. You will tell us, are you,
Yes.
I know you're doing different programs now, but was real estate your, like, let's say, most of your career, your focus? How did you start it? Did you do something like as entrepreneur before, or was real estate like a first jump for you in entrepreneurship?
No, so actually, before I got into real estate, I was actually a law enforcement officer for 11 years. So I worked in law enforcement for 11 years. I started as a correctional officer working at a jail, and then I transferred out of that and I started patrolling the streets. And so I did that for a total of 11 years. And then during that time, um, my ex-wife at the time said, "Hey, I think you should." We were looking for a house, and it was a pretty cool journey, and I enjoyed it. She said, "You know what? I think you should become a realtor. I think you would be really good at it." And so naturally, I'm just a talker. I believe, communicating is my gift. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to try it. And then I prayed about it. And then, I felt like I got the sign. And then I signed up for classes. I went and met a broker, and boom, I got my license and I quit my police job 2 weeks later. And everyone thought I was crazy.
So how is the journey at the beginning? So you were very typical, like a government, right, job and, having the
Yes.
salary. So how was it this journey, this switch? Because a lot of listeners might be just starting. It can be very scary, very intimidating. It's a lot of uncertainty. You don't know when you're gonna close commission, when the client's gonna
Right.
show up. How I understand real estate a lot. I worked as well in real estate. So how was it for you to overcome those initial stages when it's just like really a new territory of being an entrepreneur and not depending on paycheck?
Right. So first and foremost, anyone that's up and coming or thinking about becoming a realtor, I would strongly advise. This is one of the things I talk about in my book too, is that people should have at least 3 months worth of monies saved away so that they can cover their bills. Because as you stated before, going into real estate, nothing is guaranteed. You don't know when you're going to get your first sale. It is a commission only type of job, but first and foremost, I recommend that people, agents would save some money and put it aside, and so that they have a rainy day fund where at least, they feel like, all right, well, at least I'm good for the next 90 days. So anywhere from 90 to 180 days, I would recommend we saving. That's the first thing. The second thing is I feel like you have to get it set in your mind that you're going to be successful, right? You cannot go into this career very fearful. You just cannot. It has to be set in your mind like, I will be successful. You have to believe that. And then from there, you just kind of jump in. But number one, those are my main two answers to that question is that number one, you have to be prepared financially and have some money set aside so that, your lifestyle doesn't just drastically change going from a paid job to a non-commissioned job.
Yeah, I remember I did the same thing. I saved up because opening a company costs a lot and getting the license and setting up
Yes.
everything. And then I had, I think, 3 or 4 months paid up front. I paid the landlord and then I was like, I was like, oh my God, I have 4 months to figure this out. And I think that
Yes.
discomfort really push you, because I see people, I mean, it's very good to have kind of safety net, but I feel in entrepreneurship, safety net pulls you back because you're in a comfort zone. And when you don't have that comfort zone, I feel it what pushed me really to get results. In 4 months, I doubled my salary. That was my first goal. And I feel like that was
Yes.
like like really push you, because there was no one to fall on, like there was no comfort, it was just me. And I think it's blessing. And once you learn also as entrepreneur to deal with that uncertainty, I mean, now I'm like 5 6 years in the journey, I just like
Yeah.
don't even think about anymore, oh, when the client will show up, what, like I just do my work and regularly prospect, regularly have meetings, do all of those things, and not worrying like how I'm gonna pay the bills or anything, because things keep on
Right.
going. And I think that's the journey I think everyone listening have to go through. You have to go through those up and downs and uncertainty, and learn emotionally to deal with it, to just be able to be an entrepreneur, because it's not for everyone.
I agree. I agree. It's definitely not for the faint heart. You definitely have to have the right mindset. You definitely have to, again, you have to tell yourself, I'm going to do this. I'm going to
Yeah.
make this happen, and I'm going to apply myself. It's definitely not something you just get your license, you get a business card, and then you expect people are just going to call you. It definitely doesn't work like that. You definitely have to apply yourself.
So tell us a little bit more, what distinguished you and what do you think it made you successful? Because not everyone gets to six figures, not everyone gets or above, and not everyone becomes successful. So what do you think are some habits that you had, or some actions that you took to bring you to those results?
Great question. I would say I identify what my niche was. So I wanted to find my target audience. And so being that I came from law enforcement and I had been there for 11 years, I realized that I had worked with several men and women who already trust me because we served on the streets together, we served inside the jail facility together. And so there's already trust there, right? And so that's half of the game when it comes to real estate. It's about meeting someone that you either know or you don't know, and they you build rapport and have that trust, right? And so once I identified what my niche was, I decided I was going to be the real estate ambassador for all cops, firemen, sheriffs, and nurses, because I was all working in law enforcement. You find yourself in and out of the facilities, in and out of departments, in and out of situations where you're interacting with firefighters and going to the hospital with nurses. So I just said, hey, I'm around all these people all the time. I'm going to be their real estate ambassador, someone that they know, they trust, and ready to go. So that was my plan.
I love that. I love that, because throughout our career, I think everyone listening, you can also reflect whatever business you have. Like, people
Mhm.
know you from somewhere, and just connecting and changing your career. But like Otis said, you already have people that trust you, they know you. And like you're now like you should be proud, like things that you're doing, and now new business that you're having, and those are your
Mhm.
potential customers and clients, and you just already have kind of the door open. And I really love that I think really will shift perception of many people who are listening. And then tell us, I would love to know about prospecting. So like, what are the actions you took day to day? Because I know it's not just about, oh, like things will happen, I'll pray on it, or I will meditate. You took the
Yes.
action for sure. You decided, you believe you're going to be successful, but to do achieve results, you have to take action. So did you go physically visited your ex-colleagues, hospitals, inform them what are you doing, like what are those first actions? Because I noticed that people don't understand that in entrepreneurship, like for 1 2 years, you have to take constant action, that people know what you're doing, to build relationships,
Mhm.
so then results come after that. And I like to go back so people can hear and be like, hey, he actually knocked like 20 doors per day, he met, he had 20 meetings per day. What are some actions that you did to get there?
Okay, so I did this as like a combination of a lot of things. So number one, I did community outreach. So I wanted to connect with the neighborhood baseball teams in my neighborhood, and I found out one of my neighbors said, "Hey, we're looking for a sponsor." I said, "Great, I would love to sponsor." Why? Because it gets my name out there, it gets my brand. on their shirts or their banner or whatever they're going to have at the field. And so I did community outreach. Another part of the things that I did in the community is I would go to the local barbershops and I would go to the local salons. And so when you go to those kind of places, they frequent a lot of traffic of people, right? And so it's a great place where you can go and just stop in and just introduce yourself and say, hey, you want to give value. So there was a new barbershop that opened up in my neighborhood. What I simply did was I had some branded coffee mugs and I had some wine bottle openers. I went there and I just said, hey, welcome to my neighborhood. It is such a blessing to have you guys here. I appreciate what you do for the community. I want to show my appreciation and give you guys some free coffee mugs because I know you're going to be making coffee here in the mornings. You might not have your mug, but the reality was I was doing community outreach and doing nice things for them, but at the same time, I was actually giving them something that they can use every day, but I'm branding myself. So everyone that sits in that chair, they're sitting there and they're talking to him, but they're observing him drinking coffee from a mug with an emblem on it. And my logo also had my website underneath it. So I had my website and my logo on everything that I, branded. So community outreach via sports teams, community outreach doing grassroots things such as barbershops. Then I decided I was going to do Facebook. And so Facebook is the ultimate marketing tool. Okay. Number one, it's free. Okay.
Yeah.
So it would be like I call you today and I say, hey, let's meet for coffee. And I know that, you're a popular agent across town. I'm going to take a selfie of us and I'm going to post it. And I'm going to say, I just had this awesome mastermind with this bright agent from, whatever neighborhood or whatever company, and I'm going to post it. Even if I didn't have like a busy day, I want to appear to be busy. I want to look busy, right? And so it is important because guess what? It's people that's always watching you, right? And they want to know, I want to work with him, but I'm not sure if he really takes his craft really serious. I'm not sure if he's a business person, so I want to observe. And so for those that are observing, you got to give them something to look at. And so I would take selfies at networking events. I would take pictures with, lenders. Oh, I just had a, great opportunity to meet this great lender here. If you guys are looking, to get approved for a loan, see this person. So now I'm cross marketing with a lender, and then maybe they tag me on their page, and all of a sudden now I have access to their clientele on Facebook. So you have to do marketing that way. And then I would say the last thing is, now this could be a little pricey, but I wanted to make sure that I wanted clients to think about me subconsciously. I know that sounds crazy, but here's what I mean by that. If I said ba da ba ba ba, I'm loving it, you would think, oh, McDonald's, right? Because McDonald's make slogans and they have arches and everything that when you see it from a mile away, you know it's McDonald's, right? So I had a local artist, a rap artist in my city that everyone knew. He did a jingle for me, and I put that jingle on the radio, and it was very catchy, and it had my brand in it. And he talked about it, and he said my phone number, and he said my name, and all those things. So now I'm you can hear me on the radio, and now you can see me on Facebook, and now you can see me at a networking event, and now you can see me during community outreach. So it was like a aerial attack of just so many things, right? So to really answer your question, I did multiple things. You definitely, real estate is not like a one, type of marketing type of thing. You have to kind of be very diverse in your marketing. And so that's what worked for me. So I did like several types of marketing that way.
I love it, and I love your ideas, and I think it's gonna trigger a lot for me. I actually got some new ideas from you, so I'm very grateful. And like it just came to me, oh, we can do this, and we can organize community event and charity event with our
Yes.
shirts, and we just brand there and show like the work we're doing, and So I'm really grateful for that. But I think also for listeners will trigger and be like, hey, I can do this, and I always talk about these partnerships and getting people to partner up with local people that are not your competitors. Like you said, you go to barber
Hmm.
shop, you give them mugs, and they're using your mugs and they're doing free marketing for you. I mean, it's that
Yeah.
simple. So um, I absolutely love that you shared that with us, and but also it can tell how much action you put into it, because it takes time. But every day you were putting that action, you were like, we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna networking, and I'm gonna post on Facebook, and it takes time. I mean, of course,
Yes.
to build, but you have to then continuously, like you said, first decide you're gonna be successful. This is the business you want to do, and then continuously take action and build that
Hmm.
network. And I like that you also did things organically. Yes, there was some paid marketing on the radio, but I truly believe in organic marketing. You have to start
Yes.
with circle around you. You have to start with your network in your neighborhood, like you said, with your
Hmm.
barber shops. And people somehow skip that. Everyone these days think they want to pay ads on Instagram. And I'm like, well, those are strangers. They will not buy from you. So you have to start with your community, get people to know you, like be who you are. You have such a great personality, right? So people are already, loving to connect with you, knowing you. So of course they're gonna refer you, and I love that, because it's kind of the basics that I feel sometimes we skip in this time of social media, and
I
it's
wanted
really
to
powerful.
grab this because I know that everyone has a cell phone,
Yes.
right? Let's say the average person has 1,000 phone numbers in your phone. If you got 1% of that in business, you're going to do great, right?
Yeah.
So if you got a cell phone, you got a sphere of influence. You
Yeah,
got
exactly.
you got leads
Exactly.
in your phone.
Exactly. In your phone and then on your social media. And that's where you start and connect and have coffee with someone, ask them to introduce you to someone, and you expand your circle.
Absolutely.
But then also, I want to know, are there any mistakes or any things you did, maybe with marketing, that didn't work for you? Of course, real estate, for example, in Dubai is completely different than real estate in US.
Yes.
And the business is completely different. But not just in that, in your entrepreneurship journey, are there any mistakes that you did, maybe approaching or mindset wise, or even marketing or selling, that kind of taught you a lot?
Yeah, a couple of things comes to mind. One thing was I was as we're talking about like marketing, right? And we're talking about how expensive the radio can be and things of that nature. And some of those things are very hard to measure
Mm,
being on the radio. I will tell you that being on the radio, even though they might hear you today, they may not respond today. They might respond 2 months later, right?
yeah,
So it's not something that just because you're on the radio today that someone's going to call you. But there were little small things that I invested in that just didn't work, right? I invested in a marketing campaign where you advertise at the gym, right? I had a company call me and says, "Hey, look, we have brands that do very well with advertising on our TV screens during the commercial times on our televisions, and we have this many people and this and that." But what I realized is people aren't really looking for a real estate agent at the gym. That's like few far in between. And at first I thought it was cool, but then after investing in that and seeing no return, I was like, I won't do that again. Another thing is I don't believe in doing mail outs. I know some people swear by it, but me, I had no luck with it. I don't believe in just randomly mailing out things because, we as citizens, we get a whole bunch of junk mail in the mail anyway.
yeah.
So, and then, some might think I'm crazy for saying this, but I don't believe in door knocking.
Mm,
I think it's dangerous.
mm.
I think it could
Like
be very
literally, when
dangerous.
physically people going from someone's house and telling them, "Hey, I'm realtor. Can
Yeah,
I? If you need something, I'm here." Like things like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, just in my experience, I feel that most people are not looking for a real estate agent to come knock on their door. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's effective if you're doing like an open house,
Mm-hmm.
where, you're like, knock, knock. Hey, I just want to introduce myself and let you and your family know if you know any friends that's looking for a house. I got a house that's for sale two doors down, and I would love for you to come by and check it out and see the, open house. That's more effective. But just to knock on a random door and say, "Hey, my name is Otis, and I help people buy and sell homes." You're like, "Is this a scammer or what?" Like, I don't know.
You're a weirdo,
So
like.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was like, so yeah. So there's a couple things that I did that I just, I don't agree with or believe in, and I think it could be not worth it when it comes to like investments. So those are some of the mistakes I made,
Yeah.
me personally. Now, someone else might have a different testimony, but for me personally, that's what did not work.
Yeah. And I would love to ask you, like, maybe some advice, as I usually like to wrap up and the episode with like a specific, maybe advice that something we haven't mentioned in building your business,
Yeah.
that listeners like, maybe advice, maybe some tips. That everyone, not just in real estate, but in any business, that you feel it's like really important knowing other business people and like what do you think people should focus on or pay attention to?
Three things that come to mind. Number one, you have to believe in yourself. Okay. One of the things I talk about in my book is getting rid of doubt. And so I made an acronym out of the word doubt. Doubt stands for don't operate until better thinking. That's
Mm,
exactly what you're doing when you doubt yourself. Okay. Doubting yourself will have you sitting stagnant at home. Doubt will have you fearful, not wanting to call someone. Doubt will have you not wanting to leave the house. Doubt will have you just, it's like walking in a circle, right? Or being in a rocket chair. You ever heard the saying that says, just because you're moving doesn't mean you're going anywhere, right? You're moving in the chair, but you're not going anywhere. And that's what doubt will do to you, right? So, number one, you have to get rid of doubt and believe in yourself. Have unwavering confidence about yourself that you believe in your brand when no one else does. You have to. And that's something that I've stood on from day one. I've always believed in myself. I've always believed in my brand. So my brand was called the Wellborn Experience. And so when people ask me, what is the Wellborn Experience? I would tell them it's the red carpet treatment of real estate. So
mm,
when I would come to closing, I would have a bow tie on and I would be dressed really sharp. And they'll be like, wow, you're dressed, that you're dressed that elaborate to go to a closing? Yes. Because why? It makes the experience very much memorable, right? And it was my brand, right? Which leads me to my next point. You need the agents need to
mm,
brand themselves in a way that's very memorable. So when I would go to closing, there is a rug vendor in Cincinnati. Her name is Jess Hans. She owns Hans Calligraphy. So she would do hand calligraphy rugs, welcome rugs for homes. And so number one, I get it to the client. And what I simply do is you might say something funny during the process of me showing you a house. And, like one of my clients would say, take your shoes off. When I came in their house, they were like, take your shoes off. They were big on like not walking in their house with shoes. So when I showed up to closing, I had a big rug, welcome rug that said, take your shoes off. And I
I love
had their
it.
names and they cracked up laughing and they loved it so much, right? But that is something that they'll remember. That is something that they'll have at their door. And then look at it from a branding standpoint. When people come to their house for the housewarming, they would say, who gave you that rug? And they'll say, my realtor gave me that rug,
Mm,
right? I recommend that when you brand it, always put some type of emblem or something on there that identifies who you are as a realtor. So all my branding, anything I give away, like mugs or rugs, they always say hashtag TWE, which is short for the Wellborn Experience. So I wanted to make sure that people knew who I was, as well as seeing a neat gift at the door. So branding, believing in yourself, and the last thing is make a plan and write it down. Make sure your plan is written out, right? When you think about making $100,000 in real estate, it can be intimidating when you first start. But the reality is, if you break it down and write it on paper, in my book, I talk about how it's only $8,333 a month to make 100K, right? So
yeah.
in real estate terms, what does that mean? That means that you're selling one house for 300K and getting a 3% commission. That's 9K. So now you're making more than the 8,300. So how hard is it to really sell one house per month, right? Or let's break it down in two. Let's say, okay, if I didn't sell one, let's sell two. Okay, well, let's sell two homes for 150,000 each. 3% on both of those is 3,000. Oh, yeah. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. So the commission comes out and then boom, you're making your money, right? So write it down, make it plain, break it down, make it very simple, and it'll come to you much easier. It won't seem so intimidating.
Yes, I love it. I really, these tips are so helpful and so practical. So I just want to invite everyone, we're going to put in the link of this episode, a link to your book so people can purchase
Yeah.
and get your book as well. So how to make six figures selling real estate as realtor. I love this.
Yes.
And make sure to connect with Otis on all LinkedIn, social media, and reach out to him if you have any questions you would like to, know more. So thank you, Otis, for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your show and much success to you.
Yes, and thank you everyone for listening. Make sure to subscribe, give us some like hearts, download this episode, and like I always say, share it with at least one person that can benefit from it. Thank you for listening
Absolutely.
and see you in the next episode.